Welcome to Shay's Spiritual Insights, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Wow. So we have Marcy, Lisa, and Paula. This is wonderful, kind of an intimate group here. I wanted to talk a little bit first, Paula, about your comment, and I thought it was a good one, and regarding the quantum spiritual changes post that I did. And we're going to do a video this week. I'm trying to alternate between posts and videos because some people prefer videos and some people will like to read things. So if I kind of cover the same topic twice, but one in different modes, it gets a wider spectrum of people, can, appeals to them. And you talked about how it can be kind of, I forgot your exact wording, but it can be kind of disruptive, but yet it can also be a good thing. And what's happening, and I've talked about it for a long time about the incoming energies, but as we anchor to these higher levels, we're anchoring to new knowledge, skills, and abilities spiritually, and we're going to connect with them and bring them into our life. And as we do that, old things are going to fall away. Now, if we know that, all of a sudden when these kind of things, when I talked about, all of a sudden I went to a memory location, I was trying to recall things and it wasn't happening, like I was talking about in the post. What I didn't realize at the time was that just how quickly these things can happen. And during that one meditation I talk about, during that 6-month period that I was really going through an accelerated spiritual journey, you might say, I mean, that was an enormous amount of things happened. It was tremendous. In a very short meditation, it had rewired my brain, disconnected a whole bunch of things, reconnected an enormous number of things. And that can happen to any one of us. And especially in these times as we're anchoring it higher and higher, you can expect that these new connections, new abilities are going to come in. And if we flow with it, let the old stuff flow away and connect and start using the new things, it goes really smooth and really accelerates our spiritual path. So that was kind of the point on the post, and I hope it wasn't lost in there. But I did want to talk about it can have dramatic effects if you weren't ready for it. And at that time, I wasn't ready for what had happened. I mean, it was amazing. I got it to work, and I could not. I thought everything was okay until I went to do a transaction. I said, and somebody hands me some money and did a purchase, and I didn't even know what money was. So it was pretty amazing. So Debra's sound shower, I think, is coming up the 11th. It's going to be free. We're going to be she's going to do it where we're experimenting, and it'll be fun. And I want to just get the announcements out of the way. We also have the upcoming Masters or Becoming a Master's course set up. I sent the email out. I'm going to send another repeat email next week for those who are interested in it. We need to have about 14 to make it viable. So if we get the number, it'll be great. If we don't, we can look at shifting it to the next spring or something. I can understand because it's coming up this October 26th through the 30th. It will be in Wallace, Idaho it's actually a Lutheran mountain retreat. It's a beautiful place. We actually went and saw it, and it's nice and quiet there. It's ideal for what we're doing, and it would be a 4.5-day retreat. So if you haven't seen the email, go ahead and look at it. If you're interested, please do indicate and sign up, and we'll see how many people are interested. If we don't get enough people, anyone who puts a deposit down will get the deposit back. So don't worry about that. So with that, I'd love to hear from everyone, and welcome Aaron and Pat. Does anyone have anything to share? And I'm going to start with Paula. How about anything to share, Paula? Or any questions, thoughts, anything at all?
Well, it was interesting when I read your blog this morning. It's interesting when that happens, and I'm given very specific words when I just say to write a comment. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember myself what they were, but I'm just wondering what I have a good idea what it is behind it, but I just find it interesting. If I change anything, then I lose that energetic feeling that I feel I'm being led to put into the wordage I use. So I guess I'm asking, am I picking that up correctly? That
yes.
There's a reason I write just exactly what I write.
Yes. Words have resonances, and for each of us, words will have specific connections, and they'll have general ones for everyone, but they'll have specific ones. And so as we're writing things, we're using words that express the energetic connections of what's happening. And the very thing I talk about in that post is happening to everybody on this call. In fact, it's happening to everybody in the world. Those who flow with it, it can be a wonderful thing. Those who try to hold on to the old as the new connections are being made and the old ones are falling away, it can be a bit tumultuous. As you can see, just watch the evening news or read about it on the web, and you can see what happens to people who aren't ready for the new energies. But that's been happening to you, Paula, for a while. That was part of the comment that your high self had. Remember the last meditation? That's part of what that comment was about. And when you said stay in sync, that's exactly an ideal word. That's exactly what you're doing.
Excellent. Thank you. I was sure I was hitting that note on the right head, but I wanted to be sure that I wasn't missing something. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for the comment, because that always gives feedback. And if there are topics that all of you would like for me to write about, then let me know, and we'll try and see if we'll see what comes through, because I only write what comes through. So thank you. Lisa, do you have anything to share? Any questions or both, or anything at all? I'd love to hear about it.
I've got something to share, and then a question about an experience I had yesterday. So one of the things I just wanted to put out there and see if other people are noticing this is that when I'm having to do things out in the world and deal with people, I'm noticing I'm having to put a lot of attention and focus and keep on those people to make sure that they're paying attention and doing, what they're supposed to be doing. And I'm just finding it with different things. People are they're not paying attention. They're distracted. They're really ungrounded and out of their bodies. And I've had many instances, if I hadn't went back and checked on something, it would have kind of fallen through the cracks. So I'm just noticing it's kind of more challenging because of having to put more focus and attention on that, if that makes sense. More effort on just making sure people are taking care of things, I guess. Where I would say in the past, it didn't seem like it was like that, but now it seems like it's a lot more like that.
Well, I certainly talk to it, but would someone else like to jump in? Just whoever wants to go first, I'll list. Anyone have any thoughts on that they'd like to share?
I'm seeing the lady that we're renting from, with her, that a similar experience where it looked like everything was going along smooth, and then they got lost or overwhelmed. What is the word? Ungrounded?
Yep.
Is that the word you used? Ungrounded? Yeah, it was kind of like, wow, everything looked like it was going along real good, and then things got kind of wigged out. It's like, how'd that happen?
Yeah, and it's absolutely happening, and this is part of this phenomenon, and it's been something we've known that's going to be coming for a long time. My mentor June used to talk about it back in the 80s. She talks very specifically, so did Dr. McKimmey, the healer, about what was coming, and we're in the middle of it. And what's happening is people, I'm going to use the word discombobulated. I have a post out there about that. And what happens is not only the energies are coming in so fast, and in normal course, and I say normal when in normal times, these connections are naturally being made, old connections are falling away, and we have a chance to integrate them. But things are happening so fast right now, people are ungrounded within themselves, their own interconnections to their own memories and emotional grounding and energetic grounding to things, people, and places. They're being changed and disrupted and evolved so quickly. They, again, discombobulated. They are lacking focus. It's like they have ADHD. They acknowledge what you have to say. It's, they might repeat it back, and then it gets lost, or it doesn't happen, or it's incomplete. So what you're describing is definitely the phenomenon. And best I can tell, I wasn't going to say this, but I guess I'm going to. I was showing we all have life plans and life paths, and it's a very complex, I'm going to call it a matrix almost, of activities that we can do in life, and we choose how we're going to pursue that. And the same is true of our soul group, the earthly path, and I don't want to get into there's sub-soul groups, like you could think of maybe the United States as one, North America is a bigger version of that, and Europe or whatever. But anyway, I'm seeing that there's all kinds of different threads of activities, different types of focuses that we have, not only within our own lives, but that correspond to what our socially we're all focused on. We have the economy, we have our family, we have prices, we have all these things, are concerned for the planet, and all these different threads. And what happens is, because there's so much influx coming in, because each of us individually is bringing that into the soul group collectively, there's all these different choices, and people are shifting between them. So there's a little bit of schizophrenia almost on it. You can see it out there. People, again, the ungroundedness that you've talked about, that's absolutely accurate. That is what it is, discombobulated, however you want to think of it, that's what's happening, and it's happening to the soul group. And I've learned something. I can barely tell what someone's going to do when I tune in. I can see they have a choice, and it looks like they're going to go this direction. And lo and behold, at the last moment, they change their mind and they go over here. So the same thing is true with us socially. So looks like it's going to get a little bumpier coming up before it's going to get smoother. I think there's some more of the influx coming in. It takes a while for it to integrate with each of us, and then within the soul group, to have all the stuff reintegrate and then smooth out to where we collectively choose a path that we're going to go. And in all these different areas, it's not just one area, it's all the different ones. And of course, they all connect and interrelate to one another. So that's my little bit of an extended explanation of what's going on. But what you're seeing happening to others that you interact with it in the world is also reflective of the soul group, especially for those who don't have a spiritual grounding, because they're just getting bombarded and they don't know what to do about it. They're just getting hit and they feel like they're in a pinball machine. And so then you're going to see that make them even more ungrounded. And then if they don't have some sort of a family connection, spiritual connection, just a belief system of some sort to keep them stable and centered, they can act out irrationally and illogically. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Lisa, because I'm definitely seeing the same thing, and it sounds like some of you are seeing the same thing. Does anyone else have something else they'd like to share on this subject? Oh, I can't hear you, Susan. Can you turn on? I'll unmute you here.
Okay.
There
Better?
we go. Yeah,
Okay.
gotcha.
Hi everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's really nice to be with you all. I get that kind of feeling when we went to the city yesterday, and oh my gosh, it's like walking in a different world. And you can see that. I mean, intuitively, I could see people who are kind of starting to become aware, and then I could see these definite levels of awareness with people.
Yes.
And I was reminded constantly, stay in the moment, stay grounded.
Yes.
And stay tuned in, for heaven's sakes. It's a very interesting experience watching this right now, because there's a huge shift of people who aren't too sure which way they're going to go. And you can see that happening. Before the lines were drawn more, but it's not like that anymore.
Yes, it's amazing. It's because with all this, with things happening so fast, and it really takes and destabilizes their normal patterns. All the boundaries that were once there are kind of blurred, and behavioral and mental and emotional, and you name it. You're right. Yes. And welcome. So good to see you, Susan. Good to see everyone, but I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, I am too. I you know, I miss coming home, but I'm reminded to stay in the moment and not stay in a position where I'm hoping all the time, because of being here right now, and make sure that being right here right now is really important for me. Whatever happens to get home, whenever that is, I don't know, but I still hold that in my heart and my mind. But rather than just waiting, that hasn't helped very much either. So I'm moving into, okay, what's here in the moment?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the guidance that keeps coming in. We've talked about it before. I will echo what you're saying, is stay centered in our connection in the moment, and be guided to what to say. And sometimes, and it's anecdotal at this point, I had someone say something, and my left brain wanted to say a normal response, but I got this other message, and it was kind of odd, but I said, okay, I'm going to follow that. And I said it, and the person said, oh, boy, am I so glad you said that. And so when we follow that guidance and stay in the moment, we are able to respond appropriately in ways that we would have otherwise, we wouldn't know what to do. So, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I have another, I've been reading so much information that's coming through, and I need some interpretation, if you'll help me with that. This word I am keeps coming up over and over and over again. And I'm not sure what it means. You know, are we talking about higher self or source, or what's I am?
Debra calls it, and I'm for you, and this is I'm going to translate your high self. As you're saying, being in the moment and connected with your high self, it's the being. The I am is that infinitive of the verb I am, just in the beingness of the moment and flowing with it. And and I'm going to say that's the high level explanation. I can get into some real details with you, but yes, definitely that's what it is. And it seems like that is really serving you well doing that.
Okay.
And those around you as well. I mean, because as I am and opening up and letting it through, you're a greater channel. You're a channel anyway, but you're even a greater channel of energies for them in the moment. And they don't even know, a lot of the people, in fact, I'd say the vast majority of them don't even know they're receiving that energy through you, but what a gift it is that you're giving them by just being centered in the moment, in the I am.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to switch around here a little bit. Erin, do you have anything to share, or any questions, or both?
It's hard to know what to pick, I guess.
I don't want to put you on the spot. If you're just happy listening, that's fine.
Come back to me.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet.
All right. Pat, do you have anything?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Let's see. There's a couple things. Let's see. On today, John and I really, neither one of us did that much. I mean, you know, we did a little work here and there. Mm-hmm. And then it just felt like I'd been slammed and dragged through the mud or something. And I sometimes I hesitate to ask him what he's feeling, and I said, I'm so tired. And I slept a lot last night. And he said he felt the same way. And so that's the first thing that I want to mention, and see if other people are experiencing such things.
Well, we'll start with us. Debra and I are. The energies are tumultuous. That's a good word. And it's not a negative thing. It's just it's just moving fast. Anyone else have anything to share?
Okay, and the other. Oh, go ahead, please.
Marcy, go ahead.
Oh, I feel a weird energy today too. It's like old stuff that we thought we were done with, kind of stuff coming back around, like oh, I'm not good enough, doing this wrong, blame, all kinds of like old stuff coming back, and it's on like a fast loop, and it doesn't want to quit. And it's like, where is this coming from? You know, but it's just playing and playing and playing.
And that's you're releasing your layers. And that's one of the things that happens, because you know these events happen to, I call it threading. I don't know what it's actually called. Other people probably have names. Is that is throughout our lifetimes, as we had something happen in an area, and it'll usually tie to other areas as well. But let's keep it simple. We'll talk about it. And if it doesn't get resolved, then it manifests again, and some other event happens, and that becomes an event that becomes part of our baggage. And then again and again, and it gets threaded. So as we release it, we think, oh, that's gone. And for a while it is, but then the next layer comes up. But eventually, especially as we flow with this, we can get right of, and I've seen this happen with someone. All of a sudden, in fact, it happened during one of the sessions we had here some months ago. The person all of a sudden they were ready to release the entire stack of everything. They went to the root event, they got connected with it, and the whole thing came up, and they saw it as stuff being thrown away. They kept seeing it being thrown away. They were in their imagery, while the session was happening, they were throwing these things away. And that corresponded to what I saw, which was all the stuff just coming up all of a sudden. But that's what's happening as the energies come in and we're making the higher connections and the older ones are letting go. You're going to see old layers of stuff that relate to other things that have been released previously go too. So it's just part of that thread, you would say. I'm going to call it that.
So when those thoughts and emotions keep coming like that, they're actually releasing.
Yep. And your secret is to, and not to let our slow self get caught up into analyzing it. You know how the left brain is. It wants to put it in a box and look at it and measure it and think about it and stir it up and add eggs and that sort of thing. Don't need to do that. Just connect, as best we can in the moment. You can use the bubble and the connection, however it is that you do it. Bless it and let it go and just know it's on its way out. What we're experiencing is old stuff being released through our energy field, which is very common. It's better when it just falls away, but oftentimes that doesn't happen. It gets processed through. So that's what you're seeing. And I'm seeing what you're saying. They're showing me that. The universe is. And it's tying to some other stuff that you're still working on. That's why some of it is it's being released, but not as quickly as you would like.
Yeah.
I understand how that is for you, Marcy. Yes. So
it helps being on these calls, because as soon as you started talking, the energy started running. It kicked it up.
Yeah, it's because you were ready for it.
Yeah.
You're ready to let it go, and you are, and it's continuing. So that ties back to what Pat said. So do you have more, Pat? And thank you, Marcy. Thank you for sharing.
The other observations that I have been getting are with different friends that are going through medical traumas of one thing or another. Just briefly and quickly, I got a call from Judy Beebe's daughter this morning that Judy had a full-on stroke toward the end of April. And she's in full-on Alzheimer's. And so, I really feel, I'm glad she called me, and I feel honored that I got to address a few things that she was having a hard time with. And, but it's, I don't even know words for how many people things are like this are happening to, not just the stroke and Alzheimer's, but many cancers and things like that. So I don't know if you have anything that you want to speak into that. I guess I would be interested to hear it.
Actually, I do. I'm going to share it. And these are things that both Dr. McKimmey talked about and Kay brought up to me. For those who know Kay, Kay is exceptionally gifted. That's an understatement. Spiritual person. And she told me, oh, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, and Dr. McKimmey, again, he echoed the same thing. And I saw this happen, what you're talking about. I saw this happen, believe it or not, with June. And another spiritual master I know is Peter Navarro. And what happens is, Kay told me that people who get Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and these kinds of things, it's often because, and it can look really tragic from this level, and it is, and it's just because of all the efforts that, how it affects the family. But on the spiritual level, it's a huge gift. And she specifically talked about Alzheimer's. One of the things she noticed that people who have it is it allows them to go higher and after this life. They can go, they would have gone to this level, now they're going to this level. And why is that? Because as they're losing the memories here in the physical brain, as that's degenerating, they're also releasing stuff. For some people, it's because they were unwilling to let go of it in this life. And as Carol, for those who know, I'm going to mention her name, Carol, she'll say, if we don't do it, the angels will do it for us, which in other words is another way of saying, we set forth in our life plan in this life to do things. We can either do it voluntarily, or sometimes they'll say, okay, you're not going to do it at the conscious level, we'll do it at the non-conscious level. That happened to Suzanne Smith, for those who knew her. Peter Navarro, and it happened to him, and I was watching him, and he knew about it. He knew he was unwilling to let go of this. I mean, he would never talk about it, but tuning in, I knew he knew about it. And now he's got Parkinson's, and that's, things are falling away. That's happening with Kay. Kay right now has, I guess I would call it, I'm going to call it dementia, but it's like Alzheimer's. But with Kay, she knew that there were things that she just, it wasn't she was in denial about them. She just was going to let things happen through alternate methods. And so that sort of thing. So why I'm sharing this is that we can't know the things that Miss Beebe has chosen to deal with, and those are not. But what I am getting with her is that it is for her to go much higher afterwards. She has things she needs to do, and for that to happen, this event, you could say the stroke and the Alzheimer's is going to facilitate her letting go of the things that she needs to do that. And the same thing is similar, although I'm kind of generalizing here. For medical conditions that come up, there can be a number of reasons. One of them is releasing, and there's other reasons as well. And I don't want to try generalizing with it because I'd have to talk about the specific person, but we're seeing the same thing. Things have seemed to be more accelerated, more of it happening than I've seen before, percentage-wise, of people that I know. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And actually, it's happening with my mother too. So it's like, oh wow, this is.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. Here's one of the decisions I made after watching that's happened with June, and I'll share with June. June was always. And I talked to her one time about it. I said, June, you're just so busy looking at the heavenly stars, the spiritual realm. And she knew this other stuff had to be dealt with, but she says, no, I'm just going to focus on this. And just said, I'm just going to let it take its course. And it did. And I want to differentiate that between people who know about things and don't want to deal with them. Because, that can, Alzheimer's or Parkinson's can happen with them too. And it can be a little bit rougher ride than it is for people who, like June, always remained very positive and uplifting all the way to the end. Even though she had memory issues and everything else, it was always talking to her, was always uplifting. It's just you couldn't talk about historical events that much because they had faded on her. So anyway, so that's the difference between that. What I want to differentiate with Peter, Kay, and June and others, where they're having this happen. They knew about these things, and they just chose to allow the universe and the divine to handle it through another method. Whereas I've seen some people, and I won't talk about those people, but I also know people who they have things to deal with. They don't want to deal with them. They're not going to deal with them, but it's part of their life plan to deal with it. So therefore, their higher guidance, the divine, the universe, are bringing events into their life that will facilitate that process. And it's usually when that happens, it's a much rougher ride for them than it would have been had they just dealt with it in due course. So enough said. Anyway, thank you. Anything else, Pat?
No, I guess I also see how the ones that I know about, how it is also for their families.
Yes.
Learning and growing and maybe getting a different perspective. Even with, say, Judy's daughter, she said, my mom, has done so much for humanity. And if you've ever looked at her website, you would concur with that. Mm-hmm. And, why does she have to suffer like this? And she talked about being mad at God. And I said, oh, I can relate to that. About 30 years ago and so forth, I was mad at God too. And now I have a totally different way to look at this, is that, if you want to use the word God, well, I didn't go into that with her, but I said, really, your mom, I feel like your mom on another level made these choices for herself. And it has to do with going higher. And then she said something about, this is not the mom we knew, and da 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 da. And then she said, but she said, now we really could let her go if she needs to go, where prior to that, they had the whole family thing, like, we don't want her to die. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I see that with my own mom. I think she's staying for my sister, my personal opinion, but, and I think a lot of people do, they stay for the family people when they could really take off and fly. So I think that's about all. And thanks for your input. And I know I can see everybody's brains wiggling.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Pat. And the one thing I do want to share on that note, and what it just came through from the divine, is that although we love them, if we truly honor their path, embrace divine grace and let them go. Love them and allow them to follow their path. Because when we hold on to them, it just keeps, as you said, they're ready to fly. And it's hard to do, but when we can do that, that's part of the lesson I think that is for her daughter too. And I think you helped on that, just so you know. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think, we all deal with these different variances of these same life lessons. So it's so good to share it amongst us, all these different things that come forth. And thank you all for being on the call.
Yes, you're right. And everyone here is a channel of light, which is coming through to everyone else. We're all sharing right now. What a beautiful thing that it's just coming together. Even if it's like this, we all know there's no separation. So thank you. Franny, do you have anything to share or any questions? You've been waiting patiently.
Sorry,
there you go.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading the article about the quantum spiritual changes. And I was like, oh, okay. Sometimes I call that the spin cycle, when you feel like you're just kind of.
It's another way of putting it, sure.
Yeah, you don't know which end is up. I had a rough week. I got food poisoning and was sick and took care of myself, and then thought I was better and started to eat a little bit and got sick again. And I've just had to pull in this week and eating a very bland diet, not seeing anybody, and just kind of hunkering down, you might say, or the minimum. I wouldn't say I'm not doing anything, but doing the minimum. And so when I read the article, I was like, oh, could that possibly be part of what's happening with me? Because I often feel like my memory's shot and I just don't remember things. And I used to be able to multitask and really enjoyed that, and I can't now. I have to do one thing at a time, and I have to have a list so that I remember what I'm supposed to be doing, because I get distracted. And then I was really, really tired, even the days that I didn't do very much. Today I rested and I feel good, but I didn't do it. I really didn't do anything. I planted a few plants. So, and that felt good. So I feel like I'm riding that wave or feeling those energetic currents, you might say. A question that I had was, I'm doing an odd dance with my nephew and his wife. Mm-hmm. And we've spoken about this before. And my nephew has stepped up a little bit, which is really great, and taken responsibility for some things. So I'm really happy about that. At least I think he has, that our appearances are. I'm in a weird situation now where it seems like the only time they contact me is if they want to talk about money. Mm-hmm. Can I co-sign on a loan? Can I lend them money? And that just doesn't feel good to me. And so I'm doing this dance of like, I want to call them and talk to them and see how they're doing, but I also don't want to get, I don't want to get put on the spot, or not put on the spot, but I don't want to feel like that's the only reason that we're connecting. I mean, I've told Serena that I would help her build her credit. And so there's some things I'm willing to do. And the energy that I've got that I guess I'm asking for some guidance on is more with my nephew. And I just, I feel like sometimes the high self I can see it from a higher perspective. Mm-hmm. And there's a sense of loving and forgiving and seeing past some immature behaviors. And other times there's not. It's just like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. And there's anger, there's anger at him. Like, come on, you got to figure this out, Mm-hmm. So is there anything that you can say that would guide me through my next conversations with one or both of them?
Well, I think I'm going to tell you what you already know. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're going to continue this weird dance. Is that what you call it? I think you're going to continue it with him because he's still processing through his I can say life energies, but it has to do with the issue at hand that you talked about. And one of the things that's happening, there's multiple ones, and I'll use her, is that they have issues in their life, and what's happening is they're using I'm going to call the connectedness or the intimacy of working on the known issue that he has stepped up. I'm going to say your nephew has to some degree, but he's still dancing his own dance and hasn't quite grounded himself into doing the things that really need to be done. But they're using that to seek, I'm going to say, I don't want to use the word using you, but basically trying to get you to help solve their problem for them rather than doing all the things that they know they need to do through the long haul, the quick answer. So your intuition about this is accurate. And I think you need to honor your boundaries of who you are. You'll facilitate helping them solve their problem. You'll help them help themselves, but you're not going to be the solution to their problem. And as far as your nephew goes on the one issue, I just think you're going to have to help him continue keeping him focused to foster on what he needs to do, the right things. And this truly is, you care and you can see their higher nature, but they have lower influences still affecting them. And that's what's getting mixed in, They are making progress. They are wanting to do the things, but at the same time, they're being enticed by their lower natures to want to take the shortcuts. And you are a avenue, you are a connection to a shortcut, co-sign on a loan or whatever, that sort of thing. So I think being to thine own self be true, and just honoring it, helping them help themselves is the right answer. And that appears to be what you're doing and what your higher self really wants you to continue doing.
Okay. That's really helpful and really clear advice. So thank you for that. And the idea of helping them. Yeah, it does feel like they're trying to put some of the problem on me. Like, in fact, one message from my nephew was like, it felt like he was making it out to be my problem that they have to move, It's like, whoa, wait a minute. This has nothing to do with me.
Yep.
So I like that idea of helping them solve their problem. Like, I can guide, I can support. There's certain things I'm willing to do and other things I'm not willing to do. So thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that. And just setting those boundaries and being clear that, yeah, I'm not gonna rescue them or bail them out, because it'll be a never ending, it'll never end.
Yeah,
right. They need to learn. They need to learn.
The wash cycle forever. Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
And you're right. So I want to just share that, yeah, you're welcome. But that did come from your high self. And I do want to emphasize it looks like you really are, you're getting it. I just want to confirm that you're doing the right thing. And your high self wants you to know, continue doing what you're doing. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you would comment about, like just my physical ailments? I'm going down to Hot Springs tomorrow, and I'm going to soak and spend the night. And again, it's just part of this kind of pulling in and kind of doing a lot of self-care right now.
I can, and let me tell you what it is. And I've known about this for you for years, and I don't know if I've really talked about it. And I think I can share it here, because it's not nothing. This is true of all of us. We have these long cycle things we're doing in our life as part of our life plan. And we'll, what is it? Take the bite out of the elephant. We're working on the elephant, but we take one bite at a time, and we take pieces of it, and we work on the thing until the whole elephant is taken care of. And you have some long cycle stuff. And what came from one of your guys, I don't even know which one it is. I think it's a he, it doesn't matter, said, this is some old soul stuff that you're letting go of. This is the old stuff. It's the old heavier stuff. And part of your life plan, this one, is layer by layer, piece by piece, you are letting pieces of this go to be released, so that and as you're connecting up, you're getting rid of your ballast, so to speak, as I call it, the ballast off the balloon. And you're doing it safely. And what part of that is, I won't call it, it's not self-sabotage, but that food poisoning was part of the energies of some past life, old soul, heavy stuff, molasses stuff coming up that kind of made that happen. And not, so the thing is, Hot Springs will be good, but just know that this process, as you're talking about all these energies, that's the process you're in. You've got some short cycle stuff that takes this piece, this bite, which are all part of a longer cycle, which those cycles are then part of longer cycles. And that's what you are really doing this life. You're just really taking, I want to say, the bull by the horns and dealing with all the stuff that's ready to go. You're getting rid of the truckload, or let's say the semi-tractor trailer load full of stuff. That's your plan in this life. You're ready to do it. You're doing it, and you've done it through many things in your life, including your relationships that you've worked through and the things that you've done. And this is part of that. And just be not dismayed. It's a good thing. It just sometimes has little bumps in the road that come up. Yours was food poisoning. Yeah. So anyway, and they're really impressed with you. And I wanted to find the they. The they is the divine. The universe is particularly pleased. I want to use the word pleased. If I were to characterize the energy I get from the universe, capital U universe for you, is that it's pleased that for lifetimes you've worked on things and you've gotten a lot done. But this one, you're really, although it may not always appear that way, you're really working on taking it out, bite of the elephant, however, what metaphor you want to use. You're really doing it. And just continue. And that's the process and processes that you are in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You. I've got a couple questions about seminars, but that could wait till the end if you want, or should I ask them now?
How about if it's good to do at the end? Just don't forget, let me forget.
Sounds good.
All right. Brooke, you have waited patiently as well.
I have to laugh and hope that I can stay on the call today.
Okay.
Last time, every time I was called on and I started to talk, I'd get cut off. So, and but it's good to be on the call tonight. And you and I and Debra visited a few weeks ago. I think it's been now, and so things are starting to happen. And I've given notice to where I'm at now, and today was actually my last day with the Santo Domingo Pueblo, the housing authority anyway, and had a chance to visit with my board and the governors last night at a board meeting, and they were all disappointed, but definitely got some blessings of departure blessings and thank you blessings from the governor and lieutenant governor for the time that I spent with the Santo Domingo Pueblo, and wishes well when I move on to the Isleta del Sur down in El Paso. And I know that you and Debra and I talked, and I just sounded it off of you saying, I'm really still feeling this is the right move. I still am, but it's been such a trying month. I got to see Lisa one day in Electric City, and she had to work overtime to straighten me out. And I was interesting to hear her say that, people aren't really staying focused and engaged when you're sharing with them. And now I have to make sure I follow up on some of the things we shared with each other. Anyway, but then a lot of things continue to happen. And you and I spoke again about things with my mother, and she had her major surgery. She did make it through. Like we said, she had a choice to make as she was going through 10+ hours of surgery. She did have a moment where the doctor said she started to lose her blood pressure, and they had to work at trying to revive that and get it back up again. So I thought, well, maybe there was a moment in time that she might have thought it was time to go, but she decided to stay. And now what you were talking about earlier, some sharing here, because I got most of it, was to see her in recovery, which she's struggling with. It makes it hard because we'd all shared with her that if she decided to leave during the surgery, we'd be okay with it. And I'm hoping that that was sincere when my sisters and I had that visit with her the night before she had her surgery. And because her recovery seems to be really hard right now. She's not in her right mental capacity. She sometimes can't remember that she had surgery or what kind of surgery she had. And she's having real trouble now being alone. And my sister and family are struggling with that. And I was going to take a trip to Alaska to help watch her for a few weeks between jobs, and got that cleared that I don't necessarily have to do that, but maybe I will still be able to go up and visit for a week or so. So a lot of things happening, and then all the kind of the see you laters at work with my staff and my team, but looking forward to the challenges that are yet to come. And then going to a funeral this weekend, Dallas. So we're heading to Dallas tomorrow. And then back to the Seattle, Spokane area. It's like lots of things happening in a short span of time. And talk about being unfocused. It's like really trying to stay grounded in this whole process of everything happening at the same time and being pulled in multiple directions. I don't know if you have any guidance that's coming through in how I handle or should be handling this. But I know that there's reasons for it to happen and why I'm going through it. I just got to keep trying to figure out that I will make it one day at a time and encourage those I'm around one day at a time, because that's all we have.
Yep.
So.
Well, I think you're giving yourself the best advice. And to answer, there's multiple pieces to it, but I'm going to try to talk about it generally. Part of your staying centered is the secret for you, and to let things fall away as they do and the new things to come in. I'm going to talk to you about your mother. Remember, we talked on the phone that if she decided to stay, she was going to move into a new segment of her life path. And
right.
It was going to be challenging for her, but the things, although it may look however it looks for you in the family, this is a pretty significant next growth step for her, because it's going to let her move into the next chapter of things that, as she deals with it here in whatever way, both internally, non-consciously, at her many levels and aspects of her being, as well as consciously, it's letting things start to unfold and get put in place, that the learning done here, as we've talked, is a multiplier. It's like 3 times as much when we learn it here than it is up there where everything is obvious. And she's moving into this next layer of stuff that she hasn't dealt with. It's one of the reasons why it's the cognitive stuff, and also letting go, that sort of thing, which is part of what she needs to do with all of this. So however it happens, just if you feel called to go up there, I'm getting that you should do that, and just whatever she do, be there for her, bless her, and support her, and through her process, and let your guidance be that which you, in the moment, to know what to do. Now, talking about the same process at another level, let's talk about it from the job facet. You are in the process of unplugging from what you were in the relationships and the way you interacted, because you're moving into you intuitively already know this. I know you do, because you've voiced it on the phone. You're moving into a new dynamic and a new set of challenges, and you need to be unplugged to the degree that's appropriate, so that you can plug in and flow with what you need to do in the new job and the people and those interactions. And you're really good at this, by the way, and I think you already know that. But this is the universe and your own higher guidance and your own internal self allowing that to happen. That's why it feels like it's kind of a whirlwind. I don't know however you want to refer to it. But just as you're staying centered and living one day at a time, you're really following your own advice. You're doing what you need to do.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Because sometimes, like you said, you can get overwhelmed if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, because I tried to work with Teresa too, because of the dynamic stuff happening in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
That we're going to be going into a whole different energy there.
Mm-hmm.
That we're just going to be there to do what we need to with her mom and the passing of her dad, and then we'll leave.
Yes.
Because she's not in control of all the other family dynamics. So yeah, but to try to keep her in that frame of mind too, as well as myself, not to get caught up into that. So important.
It is. And one of the things that came from her high self and her inner self too, I want to separate the two both, is help her be supportive, and be supportive for her, help her facilitate her process. But it may, because of, when you're married with someone, you can suddenly become connected in processing through their stuff, not even realizing that we're doing it. And that dynamic can happen to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be careful.
Be careful. And I was getting one thing, you said, if you're not careful, you can become overwhelmed. Even when we're processing, when things are coming at this rate, I find sometimes, and I'll use that post that I had, so much happened so quick. I literally was discombobulated in that moment when for those who haven't read the post, I talk about, I had this huge shift. My brain got rewired, my mental and emotional bodies got rewired. And then I went to work, and the cash drawer opened, and I was looking at these round metal things, and I knew they had something to do with money, and I'd worked with them my whole life, but that's how dynamic it happens. So even when we are flowing with things, my goodness, it can be overwhelming sometimes. So, and you're doing great.
Well, appreciate it. One thing you mentioned about is be careful, and you kind of let go of where I'm at now, be ready to move on to where I'm going. But I also offered, without a real time limit, but I know it'll come, some time with the transition, because the board is thinking about selecting one of my managers and they did, as in an interim role, to take over my position here. And I said I would help with any transition for a period of time try to make it as smooth as possible. But at some point, I know I will have to let go, and they'll be ready for me to let go, I'm sure. And just to know when that is, because I'm still tied in until some of them get authorized by HUD to access all the accounts and all the reporting and all the finances in the government system that we have to go through to get it. But as soon as that happens, I probably feel very comfortable starting to disconnect, even though I'm very connected to the individuals individually and energetically. So
I don't think it's going to be a problem for you. You're going to just flow with it. And when the time comes, there's going to become a point where it looks like it's going. And all of a sudden you're going to feel, boom, I'm ready to detach. Instead of gradually, you're just going to boom. And they'll be ready for it. And you'll still make yourself available if they have a phone call or question, that sort of thing. But it looks like you're flowing with it, and you're disconnecting in the way that's right, staying connected enough to help. But there's going to come a point when that happens, and then it's going to coincide roughly with the things, all of a sudden, the wave coming in of interaction in your new position.
Right.
In the various facets.
Yeah, and we still got to find some way to make our time connect so I can get back into Montana with all of you. So.
Well, we know it'll happen when it's supposed to. We certainly are looking forward to it. So.
As we say, have RV and truck, we'll travel.
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you. Is there anything else, Brooke?
Not right now, but I enjoy getting on these, and sometimes, like, I just left the office and said, "Wow, it's 7 o'clock." I was wrapping up so I could be gone for the next 3 weeks and then be back into New Mexico again.
Yes, it's always nice, isn't it?
Yeah, but nice to see everybody.
Thank you. Aaron, now, do you have anything? If you don't, that's fine. I don't feel like you're put on the spot.
Well, I've had time to think about it, so.
Okay.
So I guess one thing is, usually I don't really focus on my body, it's all emotions, but my left shoulder is really sore a lot, and it's been sore for several months. So I've been trying to stretch it and then, do hot baths and all of that, but there's still some pain there. So if you have any guidance on what that is or what to do, that would be awesome.
All right. I do, but I'm getting that I would like to ask others first. So if anyone has something they want to share, please jump in first. And I do have an answer for you on that. I'm part of it, at least. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share with that? Go ahead.
I don't know what it is, but I feel my heart when she started talking. Like a lot of pressure in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, emotion with it. We talked about, Aaron, and thank you, Marcy. We've talked about how this lifetime, and this is true of so many people, this is a culminating lifetime for lots of people. This is a lifetime where they're done with this whole segment of lifetimes and all that span of learning, and they're ready to move up to the next level. And just this is the time for that to happen. This is the spiritual renaissance that we're in that's making it happen. It's tumultuous, but it's happening. And this has to do with injuries that you have sustained, and it's actually happened to you in multiple lifetimes that are coming up and they're manifesting into the shoulder. What to do about it, I don't have the answer to it. Maybe Susan or Lisa or one of the others can jump in and share. But what is happening is you're releasing it. And that's why we've talked about all these emotions have been coming up and you've been processing them. And your high self and your higher guidance has been trying to allow it to go at the speed that it can while keeping your life as stable as possible. And even with that, it's been a little bumpy from time to time for you, as you already know. I'm not telling you anything, but that's what that has to do with. Deborah's having some of it in her right elbow. I think it's her right elbow. It has to do with stuff. And you were abused, just to put it bluntly, and usually by a family member.
Okay. Yeah, I've been feeling that.
Yep. And multiple times. Once, and it was your, well, I don't want to get into personal stuff, but in a previous life, it was the same person was your father at one point, your brother at another point, and a husband at a different point. And each time in varying roles, because these are things that you have been trying to deal with, you were, I'm going to say that you sustained physical abuse, and this is what you're having stuff. But what you're doing now is the gift of, as you're connecting and following your higher guidance and you're choosing the path the way you're going to do it, you're releasing that, and that's what you're experiencing. And just knowing that will help facilitate it being released. And I feel like maybe Susan, you might have something to share, or Lisa, either one, if you want to jump in on what to do about it, because that's not my strong point always. I'm not getting anything specific. I think there are things that can be done, but I don't know what they are.
I think sometimes, I think I see a lot of people right now who are experiencing a lot of body pain, all throughout the body, including me. And I'm looking at it and saying, okay, we're going through this transition right now where things are going to come right in front of our faces.
Yep.
And also, you know, to really understand that and let it move through, but you know, also to look into supplements to help support our bodies too, in that regard.
Yes, I got a hit on that. You're right. What can she take that would help her?
Somebody was talking about Boswellia the other day, and I hadn't thought about it for a long time. For someone who was having trouble with shoulder pain, and said that it had helped a lot. So I started looking into that. So I'm thinking, okay, that's an option. And there are other herbs like that.
Okay. And I know that a lot of times you can go, we have one here in Whitefish. It's a 3rd Street market, and the person that's there, that, you know, that's there on staff that knows about nutrients is very intuitive as well. This person's more than just someone who's knowledgeable about vitamins and herbs, and they're actually tuning in. I've watched this. It's a him. I've watched him, and it's like, boy, he's right on the money. So if you have someone like that, Aaron, in your area, where you can talk to them and just say, this is what you're experiencing, and you're aware that it has to do with past life stuff that you're releasing, but is there something you can do, a supplement that energetically can help facilitate this process and help the healing? That might be something you can do. But thank you, Susan. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything to share?
I have something I want to add, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
Lisa, that class or whatever you sent me today to look at, would that be something you might recommend for Aaron?
He's already taken it.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to look at it myself. And I thought that sounds like a good set of tools to help process some of this. So.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal tool, because we've all went through abuse, and it's really addressing that abuse, and also the cycle of being the victim and the victimizer, and really getting out of the duality of all of that, and being able to move out of the victim energy, especially when you've had abuse. Allows you to move out of that victim cycle and to really resolve that. And so it was one of the best classes I've ever done. So
perhaps you can review that, Aaron. I don't know. I feel like that is certainly something you can do to facilitate it. And just being aware of it and choosing to let it go will help. And you'll be guided to things. I don't know about you. I'm a firm believer, and we're just talking to everyone. Anyone wants to chime in afterward, you can talk about it. I think we are intuitively guided when we set our intention to the things we need. It could be a person, it could be a class, it could be a piece of information, it could be a nutrient. So just knowing about this and setting your intention, allow yourself to be guided, and sometimes I'm surprised. I'm guided to something and my left brain wants to say, no, that's not it. And I'll say, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then it turns out to be the very thing I needed. So just allow yourself to be guided, and that's more what I can share. If anyone else has anything to add to that, please do.
I was just curious which shoulder it was.
Left side.
The left side. Yeah. I have something I want to share. Erin, because the wounding was by men against you as a female, there's something about this left-right.
That's true.
That's out of balance. And as you are healing, it'll be important to do things that allow for a greater integration of not just left, right, but male, female energies. So there was some sort of wounded male or male that abused his power, and you're in the role of the female. And so things are really sort of a mess. And it's not just your shoulder, but you're repatterning it. To me, it feels like on a lot of different levels, how you relate to yourself, but also to men, and what that healthy male energy looks like and feels like. So anyway, I'll just offer that as something that might help.
I agree. I'm getting that that's true. And just so you know, in every session, and this is so common, and on the back, you know, where the Kundalini, the base of the back, we have the male and the female energies, and they, of course, they come up, and it creates the vortexes that create the chakras. But anyway, I have noted almost with everyone, there's an imbalance between the male and the female from what their high self template, their light body has for them, what it's supposed to be. And part of the, I say almost every session, so far, every session has always been to rebalance that, because it helps facilitate that very process you're talking about, Franny. It's part of it. It's not the whole thing. It's a piece of it.
Yeah.
So I hope that's of help for you, Erin. What everyone just shared.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to add too, the other thing that I got was acupuncture, because it's really opening up the energy channels, because it's crystallized energy in your body. That's that stuck energy becomes crystallized. So the acupuncture can actually start to open that stuff up again. The other thing is you might look into doing a sound healing with Debra.
And we have one on the 11th. And,
oh yeah.
And what Debra does, she goes into her high self, as we do, as any of us do in our work. I think most of us go into our high self. And Debra sets the intention that she will be a channel for everyone, so that whatever comes through is for them. It also sets the intention that everyone who's part of the sound shower will connect with the energies that are right for them, that will facilitate their own healing. So it's kind of a duality, all kinds of a dynamic process. I recommend, if you can do so, it's between 7 and 9 our time, which I think is the same for you, on the 11th. I hope I'm not messing this up. I can check my calendar here. Pardon me just for a moment. Yes, the 11th. So I recommend just go ahead and sign up for it, and she'll send out the link.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you for sharing, because what happens to you, other people, and you're right, I'm seeing so much of that very thing. And this is the time for so many people to let all that old stuff go, dissolve it, release it, connect and live from their true self, their high self, to not, and I'm saying for so many of you, in fact, everyone on the screen here, part of your life path, and you're each in your own way, is you've wrapped it up, and not to just gradually go, but most of you have already done so or are continuing to do so, shift way up, and then you're re-anchoring up here. It's not just a gradual thing. You're moving up there, kind of like on Star Trek. You're disappearing here and beaming here. You're no longer here. You're up here, and it can be kind of a dynamic thing. And as we do that, what a gift it is to the soul group, because as we anchor to our true self, that's coming in, being fed to the soul group, and it's helping us raise the frequency and help guide the soul group to the higher patterns it can follow. And boy, does the world need that now.
It's a huge reconfiguration for sure.
It does, and it looks really yucky out there, but that's what's happening. And you know, those who operate in the dark energies think that, you know, that consciousness thinks they can do this, but they're blind to the light. And the light is, you know, I was one of those What the Bleep DVD series. This one guy came on, he says the light is 100 times more powerful than the darkness. Well, whatever number we want to ascribe to it, it's vastly more powerful. And that is what's happening. But because each of us, as the whole individuals in the soul group, I have to handle this on the individual level, which collectively makes the soul group, determines what that looks like. This is just a process we're going through, and we just, each of us, stay connected in our own connection in the light, and that's the greatest gift that we can do for ourselves and for everyone and in the world. Because we're not to be caught up in someone else's karma. That was Peter Navarro, who's a spiritual master. He knew June. For those who knew June, very powerful, although you would never know he did things. If you'd have to know that he's the one who did it to know that he did it. He would sometimes confide in me and share with things that he'd say, I was part of that process, but don't tell anyone. And I would say, okay, I won't tell anyone. But that was his mantra. Don't take on someone else's karma, because when we do, their problem becomes our problem. And the universe will let us do it, but that's not what we're to do. So I know, enough said. I think we all know that. All right, Franny, I want to not lose it. You talked about seminars. Go ahead.
Is the transformation seminar in September, is that just by Zoom?
Yes.
Or is it live in Zoom? It's just by Zoom. Okay.
Yes. We're moving to that. We're feeling like the universe, you know, like everyone else, things are evolving, and sometimes we have clarity, sometimes things are real fuzzy. And we really feel like just because of the events happening in our life that we're to move. We're still going to do local things that we can do here, but we really need to move more online to make that available. And for example, we do have an intuitive mastery happening the 27th, 28th, and 29th of this month at our house for 2 people. Because that seemed to be the right move. And if others wanted to re-audit, they could. But we're going to do more and more things that way. We're being, I think, guided to do that. And we'll see how it unfolds. You know, one of the things, what is it, the Buddhists and the Hindus, and they all say, you know, attachment is one of those things that holds us back in our spiritual growth. And that's not only attachment to things, but attachment to expectations of outcomes and what something should look like. And I don't know how it is for the rest of you. I know what my spiritual mission is. Debra and I, we do. But what that looks like at any moment in time, oh my goodness, I don't always have that clarity, just as all of you. You might be able to see it, whereas I do not. But we just are just guided to flow with it. So that's where it's going right now for us as far as the seminars. Except for the Becoming a Master seminar. That one we're doing whenever we do it, whether it's this October, 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th, 30th, 26th to the 30th. If we have 14 people that are able to do it, then we'll make that happen. If not, we will look at another set of dates and see if it works for people then. But that'll be an on-site one, and it'll be one that'll be a non-commuting one. It'll be right there on site where our energies can build and build and build. The Elohim beings and the divine have been after us for about 5-6 years to get. They said this is ready. People are ready for this. And what this is this seminar is for those who've gone through all the court seminars, is to culminate there where those people are, where you're going to go through a spiritual rite of passage after the 5 days there. They're going to bring you through a whole bunch of things that are going to happen, and the energy signature of your being, you're going to be ordained as masters, consecrated as masters by the spiritual masters. That is what they have. And it's actual of your being from that point forward will have the signature of a spiritual master. Any of those who are in the advanced spiritual beings can see it, and everyone up there in the etheric realm, they will know it. When you come, they'll know that's a spiritual master coming. And we know that it'll happen when it's time, and so that's why we said, well, we need to at least make it available to everyone, and if we get enough people, great. If not, we're not going to be attached to that outcome. We'll do it another time. So that's all I have to say on that one.
Mm.
Is there anything else for anyone? Does anyone have anything more to share? I don't know how much time. Oh,
I just want to say one thing about our little lovely Lola, since she can not join us ever on Zoom because of the communication systems where she is in Canada. Well, she went through a major challenge that ended her in the hospital, and she's home now. And all I'm asking for all of us is to just give her like a half a minute of our love and light, and I know she'll feel it.
We'll put her in the circle here because we have even with these sessions, the higher guidance always creates a divine, a sacred space for this, and I'm putting her, and you probably all are too, putting her in that sacred space of light right now so that she can receive it and be immersed in it and bathed in that from the divine and all of you, because each of you is a channel as well.
And Franny, wishing you wellness.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. If there's nothing.
Lisa had her hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I jumped in before she did. So.
Oh, okay, Lisa, go ahead, please.
I had an experience yesterday that I wanted to ask you about, and it was a little bit different than I don't know if you call them energy downloads or what's happening. I know energy's being cleared, but I noticed that it felt different. It went on for about 2.5 hours, and I was kind of going a little bit in and out, and I noticed the colors were more of like a crystalline gold color coming in. And I noticed that I was also seeing a lot of different faces of beings that I haven't seen before. But yeah, it was pretty intense, and I haven't really asked you about for a while kind of where I'm at and kind of what's happening. I just wanted to see if there was anything you could say about that, or just.
Well, first, your high self wants me to ask you, what do you sense it is? I was just shown what it is. That's wonderful. And
it feels like it's the Christ consciousness. That's
exactly what it is.
Okay.
You are connected, and any color energetically it can be a Christed color. When it comes from the Christ body, it has, I don't know this, I know, like I told Kay once when I saw that it's like crystalline energy, and it's clear, and it has this I don't know how to say it, a crystalline essence to it. And you're connecting, you're re-anchoring, and it's part of the process is because it looks like I can share this with you. This was part of a growth cycle for you in what you've been doing in your residence. This is part of a spiritual thing that went along with that, and you are, regardless of what you've done that, and you're re-anchoring. You're ready for this new connection as part of your next phase of growth. It's huge. It was a huge connection. It was a gigantic. It wasn't just a little thing. It was a connection, and you are not only connecting in it, you're dwelling in it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think more to follow. As you get used, as you're being at its many levels and many aspects, the longer you're connected to it, the more it's like a tool. The longer we have it, the more we know how to use it, and you're going to be facilitating that connection far more, and it'll be manifesting, because whatever we connect to there comes out here and affects everything that we do, because everything's connected to everything else. So.
Okay. Yeah, it felt like it was, I could tell there's going to be a lot more. It was almost like a prep of like, we're getting you just kind of prep for it, and this is what it feels like, but there's more coming.
Yeah, it's like turning on the equipment and plugging you in.
Yeah.
Everything's getting synced up and ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
More to follow. That's all I'm going to say. That's all they want me to say.
I noticed today when I did a session, the energies coming in were so intense that it was like really, I don't know if I've ever experienced it where it was like uncomfortable for my body.
Yep.
I was like, whoa, what is this? And I know it wasn't the person, but it was the energy coming in for the person I was working with. And yeah, it was pretty intense. I don't think I've experienced that before.
It's because part of what the anchoring that you've had, to the degree we're ready, we keep anchoring higher. And then, of course, the old grounding points remove. And, of course, that allows us to be a vehicle for others for that which they're ready for. And that person was ready for it.
Okay.
But you were certainly, and I know what you're talking about. It's so intense. Sometimes it's uncomfortable in our body. And sometimes, I don't know about you, I can barely stay balanced and keep my balance so I can continue the session.
Yeah, it was kind of a struggle, and I was like, what is going on?
And there's more to follow on that. And boy,
Okay.
I can't say more. I'm sorry. That's all they let me say. That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. Well, thank you for sharing. And that's happening to everybody. The degree we're ready. And what's interesting is with each person, it's kind of the same thing, only different. I borrowed that from my military guy that I used to know. He used to say that he was a real intuitive guy. He always said he was a person who said, I don't believe in God yet. This man was so intuitive. I just said, oh, fine. You don't have to believe in him, but you're doing it. And so I'm seeing that with so many people. We're all doing kind of the same thing, but it because of who we are, we're all unique in our connection to the divine and God and to the etheric realm. How it happens for us is unique, but yet it's just wonderful. Each in we're just different colors of the rainbow. I don't know how to say it. It's just beautiful. And so I love it when everyone shares, because I get to vicariously experience what you share as you're talking about it. And then everyone else gets the energies too. So we all are blessed by it. So thank you. Blessings. Thank you all. Does anyone else have anything to share? I don't want to cut anybody off. I'm sorry, Lisa, that I didn't get to you sooner. I missed it. I missed the cue.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I don't know if you got the email that I wrote you about the wind, but I wanted to ask you about it.
I did. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, because what I was asking was like the super strong wind that's at this new place that we're in. I mean, it's not to ignore it, it's to be part of it. But how is it actually affecting the being on different levels? Like, I mean, it's got to be a gift, right? It's got to be a gift. It's intense, and it's pretty constant. Can you give me any tidbits about that?
Oh boy, it's multifaceted, so I'm going to try to keep this simple. Otherwise, my spiritual physicist nature will come out and I'll go into excessive detail. So to keep it, the wind has to do often with the spirit, and the mind also can be with the mind. But for you, it's the spirit, and it has to do, you were guided to this place. That is an outer manifestation. That is what is it? I'm going to call it a sign. It's not a sign, but it kind of is a sign. It's an affirmation of the universe and the spirit, mother spirit, in your outer world. And also, it's also a gift to that area, because what's happening, you're there, and as those energies are coming through, the growth that you're having, and you're seeing it in your environment. Does that make sense? That's the short 10,000 foot version.
Yes. Yeah, it's just so intense. It was like, you know, I know this is for a reason. I love the wind. From the time I was a little kid, but it's intense, and my partner is up on the land because it's too intense down here or up here. So it's interesting. I can see it doing different things in different places, but I knew there had to be some main focus, and I think you explained it.
Yes, and it's really important that your being is also a facilitating agent of it. It's not only for you, but as a facilitating agent, as a vehicle for others and that area. So it's kind of like we're both teachers, doers, and both at the same time kind of a thing. It's a very dynamic thing that's happening, and it's beautiful, and you're flowing with it, and just keep doing it. Just keep being it, keep allowing it. And when you're asked to be engage it. When you're asked to flow with it. When you're asked to just do both, just flow, just do what you've been doing.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that, for bringing that up. I don't think I probably just said, yes, that's awesome. And I think that's all I said. So I'm glad you brought it up. All right. Well, everyone, this has been so wonderful. Does anyone else have any closing thoughts, comments before we say adieu? All right. Well, this blessings and light for everyone. I'll have this video posted tonight, and I'm just going to keep the narrative short. I'm just going to say thank you all for being there in the text and watch the video. So blessings and light to all of you. Until next month. Blessings, light, and love.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank you all for being here.
Good night.
Lots of
Thank you,
love.
everyone.
Bye-bye.